Okay, I'm going to call to order the September 9, 2014 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. I want to welcome those of you that are here in the council chamber to the council chamber. I also want to welcome those who are watching us on Channel 10, those who might be listening to us on Channel 10, those who might be listening to us on the radios or on the computer. So welcome to all. This is your city government, and we want your involvement in whatever form it takes. So, again, welcome. I'm going to ask clerk to take the roll call of the council members.
Allison Osby.
Here.
Hansky.
Here.
Fitzgerald.
Here.
Cummings.
Here.
Peck.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Tower.
Here.
Present 7.
Okay, I ask that all rise. We'll have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance led by our students who do the Pledge of Allegiance, and Council Member Allison Osby will do the invocation.
We ask for guidance tonight as we begin this meeting. May all those who participate in our discussions and our decisions reflect the values that we cherish in this great city.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good, our students are staying with us here. Why don't you all face out there so everybody can see you? Looks like we're seeing double here tonight. That's what I thought. Okay, good. I want to thank the two of you for coming tonight. We very much appreciate you coming down and helping us out tonight. But we want to find out a little bit about you. So I'm going to pass the microphone down here. Why don't you indicate what your name is and where you go to school, what year in school that you happen to be in, and given we just had summer come to an end for those who are going to school, why don't you tell us what was the best thing that happened to you this summer?
I'm Charity Labai, and I am a senior at Oshkosh West. In this summer, me and my family took a trip to Colorado. I'm Courtney Labai, and I am also a senior at Oshkosh West, and I'm also a part of her family, so I also went to Colorado this summer, and it was very cool.
Again, I want to thank you. I do have a certificate for each one of you I'd like to pass out. Charity? Courtney, there you go. Again, thank you. Some applause, please. Now you can take off and get out of here. We shall. We'll miss you. Okay, next I have a proclamation, and we have a group that's going to receive the proclamation, so I'd ask the group to come on up here so everybody can see you, so you can be on television also. It's kind of an important proclamation for the community because it has to do with a program that's important for the community. So here's the proclamation. Whereas the Well Oshkosh Initiative is a community-wide health project to obtain recognition as a well city by the Wellness Councils of America. Whereas with the encouragement and assistance of the Well Oshkosh Task Force and local employers, including our own organization, these programs enhance the health and well-being of their workforce, contain health care costs, and raise awareness of the importance of a healthy lifestyle. And whereas with the help of the Well Oshkosh Task Force, the City of Oshkosh, as an employer, was awarded the Wellness Council of America's Silver Level Well Workplace Award this past spring. And whereas the Well City USA status is achieved when a minimum of 20 organizations collectively employ 20% of a community's workforce, and Oshkosh's business, health, and civic leaders have taken significant measures to protect the health and well-being of the working people of Oshkosh, as well as to strive to contain ever-escalating health care costs, can become designated well workplaces within a 3-year time period. And whereas nationally only 13 communities have achieved this status, 4 of which are in Wisconsin, and Oshkosh now joins the city of Milwaukee, the city of Racine, and the Fox cities in earning this sought-after designation. Now, therefore, I, Burke Tower, Mayor of the City of Oshkosh, do hereby proclaim that Tuesday, September 9, 2014, has been designated as Well Oshkosh Task Force Day. Please accept our warmest congratulations and our heartfelt thanks for your energy, enthusiasm, and commitment in distinguishing the city of Oshkosh as one of the premier communities in the United States. So I do want to thank you each for all the work you've done on this. It's a great program for the community, keeps people healthy. It's a good thing for organizations. We're particularly appreciative in the city of Oshkosh of being part of it and gaining some recognition as part of it. So I'm going to pass the microphone down, so I want each of you to introduce yourselves. I won't ask you what the best thing that happened to you this summer. But if you have some comments you'd like to make about the program, feel free.
Hi, I'm Susan Betcher with Silver Star Brands. We're very excited to receive this proclamation on behalf of the city of Oshkosh, and very grateful for the 20 organizations that have stepped up and became a well workplace. They worked hard, just as hard as we did, but we're very grateful for them for doing that too.
Good evening. I'm Trish Solomon. I am with Gabriel's Villa, part of Lutheran Homes of Oshkosh, and very excited to be here and be a part of this illustrious task force. And it has been a great opportunity, and we're just really excited that we have a well city.
I'm Pat Kufel-Eben with Lutheran Homes of Oshkosh. And I, too, this was just a wonderful journey, great group of people to work with, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but we made it, and we're very proud.
I'm Kate Elliott from the Wellness Council of Wisconsin, and I just want to say on behalf of the Wellness Council and on behalf of the Wellness Council of America, we'd like to thank this city. As you mentioned, this is the 13th well city in the country and the 4th in Wisconsin, so this was no small feat, and we thank you for your support.
I'm Molly Woods from the Oshkosh YMCA, and I just want to remind companies that if you weren't in this initial run, that we have 3 years to receive Well City designation again. So if you didn't feel like you were part of it this time, there's still opportunity to get involved, and you can be a part of the task force or a part of those companies obtaining Well Workplace, and we'll be happy to help you with that.
And I thank you for your efforts. It's a great program for the city. So we have some applause for these individuals who worked so hard and for all the companies that were involved. Thank you. You guys can take off also.
No, make them stay.
Okay, the next thing we have on the agenda are citizen statements to the council. This is a time when citizens have an opportunity to come forward and indicate something in the city that they're particularly concerned about or something in the city that they're particularly proud of and would like to share with others in the city. Ask a few things. Give us your name and give us your address. Limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Speak directly to the council. And no electioneering, and don't speak to anything that is elsewhere on the agenda.
Good evening. My name is Gary Gray, 815 West Linwood. I generally am in the philosophy that if somebody is paid to do a job or volunteers to do a job, they should not be handheld. They should strive for excellence and outstanding service just by the fact of the commitment. However, there are some sort of exceptions. Tonight I want to mention one exception. I want to thank Mayor Taro and Councilor Pansky for the comments at the last meeting in regards to the tax levy. I think it was an example of needed transparency and openness to government. It's also, I believe, fulfillment of a commitment to provide assistance or guidance to the city manager and to the staff in regards to the budgeting. And also, I think it's just basically part of the general process of doing a budget. I think people looking at the forecast, or I'm sorry, the projections that the staff did in regards to the 2015 budget will cause people to have a lot of pain, and there are many difficult decisions that are going to have to be made. Hopefully they're going to be fairly equitable. But anyhow, thank you, Mayor Tower and Councilor Pansky.
Thank you. Anybody else care to come forward? Seeing no one come forward, it'll take us to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is made up of items that the administration feels are non-controversial in nature. As such, they'll be voted on as a package unless either a citizen or a council member asks that a particular item or items be moved off the consent agenda. What I'm going to do is read through these items, and as I do, if you'd like to comment on any of them, as I read the item, please come forward. After that, I'll bring it back to the council for consideration. Approval of bills presented by the Finance Director. Receipt and filing of museum board minutes from July 3, 2014. Approval of cash report for July 2014. Resolution 14-408, approved conditional use permit for an exception to the Downtown Overlay District Standard Modification, 522-530 North Main Street. Resolution 14-409, award partial bid to Lunda Construction Contract number 13-18, Boatworks Property Loop and West Section. Resolution 14-410, award bid for Public Works Contract number 14-08 to Donald Heptus and Sons, Inc., for various water meter extensions. Resolution 14-411, amend 2014 Capital Improvements Program to move state trust funds to Southwest Industrial Park Project for street and utility construction, authorized borrowing from State Land Trust.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
Yes, I'm
I
sorry.
have a comment on 411. Gary Gray.
Which one?
14411.
Okay, 411.
Gary Gray, 815 West Linwood. I guess I'm a little bit confused. The printed agenda says amend 2014 Capital Improvement Program to move state funds to Southwest Industrial Park Project. I guess that so indicates that somehow we have some funds now that are being held, and we're going to move it from one account to another account. The second question I have is, I guess the loan that is being requested to be authorized, is it for the Southwest Industrial Park, or is it for some other park? Because in the packet, there was a couple other TIF districts that were mentioned, and I'm just, a little bit confused. And the last point is that in the memo, it's stated that the trust fund loan will be repaid from proceeds of land sales in the Southwest Industrial Park, and I was wondering if that should be in the resolution. Those are my questions.
Okay, we can do one of a couple things here. I could have, you want to respond to that now, or because I know we're going to consider this separately ultimately.
I can answer them later on. They may require some follow-up questions from council, so
Okay.
it's your pleasure.
I'm going to ask for your patience on this one because I think this is going to be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. So we'll get to your questions, answers to your questions at that point in time. Is that okay? So we'll answer your questions. Okay, Resolution 14-412, approve appointment to the Housing Authority. Resolution 14-413, disallowance of claim by David Stubbe. Resolution 14-414, approve special Class B licenses and operator licenses. Okay, I see no one coming forward, and bring it back to the council for any questions or any quick discussion that people want to have here, or to ask that any items be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration. Mr. Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to pull two resolutions. First one is Resolution 14-409, and I would like that to be considered with number 11 on the agenda for tonight, which is Resolution 14-415. I think they are parallel. And second, I do also want to pull Resolution 14-411, the amended 2014 capital improvement. And mainly, I want that pulled because I think that anytime we're talking about adjusting any of our budgets and programs, that they shouldn't be in the consent agenda. They should be a separate resolution for discussion.
Okay, and that's the one also that Mr. Rivers' question
Mayor?
before. Yes.
I would also like to pull Resolution 14-410 for separate consideration. I do have a few questions on that one as well.
14-410, okay. Any other questions, or anything else to be removed? Okay, I'll ask for a motion for the consent agenda minus 14-410, 14-411, and 14-409.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on the consent agenda minus 14-410, 14-411, 14-409.
Ellison Osby.
Aye.
Ansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Heck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, that takes us back to items removed from the consent agenda. The first one I'm going to put up for consideration is Resolution 14-410. Already had input from folks here, so I'll ask for a motion and a second on Resolution 14-410.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, and I'll yield to Ms. Pansky on this one.
Yep. I have already talked to David Patek a little bit about this, but I just kind of wanted to clarify a few things. I had some questions regarding the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. I was informed that that was not indeed in the CIP, but it was part of the water utility operations budget. Can you clarify a little bit more on what we're...
That's correct. The three items in that contract were water main extensions out at Riff Road and Edgewood Road is the first project. The second one was at the Waiwash Trail. And the third one were master meters installed in the area of, or for the servicing the Winnebago Mental Health Institute property. And the first two projects are in the CIP, but every year the operating budget for the water utility funds the replacement of or installation of meters, and that's where we're paying for the master meters for the Winnebago Mental Health Institute.
And that's to monitor water usage and losses.
That's correct. They have a large private system where right now they're currently only being monitored at each building with a meter, and by putting these master meters at the beginning of the lateral for the whole system, we're going to be able to monitor any breaks or leaks they have on their own system, which we currently aren't monitoring. Public Service Commission for the state of Wisconsin has had concerns with the water loss in the city, and this is a way we're able to monitor for water loss on the private side and then actually make the Winnebago Mental Health Institute pay for that all the water they use, because if they lose it on their property, they should be paying for it.
Is that okay?
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, I'll ask the clerk to take the roll call vote on Resolution 14-410.
Ellison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Heck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, that takes us to Resolution 14-411. I'll ask for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Discussion. I'll ask Mr. Herman to start it off. Since
Thank you,
asked
Mayor
it to be
Tower.
pulled.
I guess I'd go to Mr. Gray's questions if Mr. Davis or Mr. Roloff would like to answer a couple of his questions first, and then I may have a couple others to ask.
Do you recall each of the questions, or do I need to?
I think between Alan and I, we can probably take care of that. If you'll recall, when we were doing the Boatworks project, that in order to get that grant, we needed to show that we had matching funds. And we weren't in a position to do any borrowing for that at that time, so we went ahead and did that borrowing through the state trust fund loan. That's for the Riverwalk and things like that. Those are improvements that are public improvements, but we needed to get that money demonstrated that we had it. Is that correct, Alan?
And we also needed to fund the Marion Rivers 2 remediation as well. That was part of that project.
And that was private, the Marion Road one thing, and because that was private, anything that we do that will eventually, or even could eventually, benefit private property, we cannot do tax-exempt borrowing for that. We have to do taxable or non-tax exempt. And state trust fund loans, we typically use for that purpose. So there were two reasons to use those funds. Since that time, Mr. Davis has identified that TIF 7 is an eligible donor tax increment district for the Marion Road project as well as the boat works. Meanwhile, and this is where I'll turn it over, out at the Southwest Industrial Park, we have a need to get extra fill there in order to make those sites developable and sellable. I wouldn't necessarily say shovel ready, but as close to shovel ready as possible. And those will absolutely, definitely be sold to private concerns, in which case we would need to do a state trust fund borrowing. Because the funds are eligible in TIF 7 to be used down at the riverfront, whether it's Marion Road or the boat works, we felt it was an appropriate reallocation of these funds to get out there in the industrial park, because we were going to have to, if we were going to borrow for that, we were going to have to use the state trust fund loan anyway. This way we just do it now. Alan, anything I missed? You're probably hoping I covered everything.
No, I think we covered it. Basically, we have the need at the Southwest Industrial Park, and we have two other projects that we can reallocate the funds from to the Southwest Industrial Park, and we can backfill that with TIF 7 donation.
Okay.
So we don't have to borrow the money.
In your fiscal impact, though, you state that the fund loan will now be repaid from proceeds of land sales. How long do we have for that proceeds or land sales to happen before we have to start paying back on the loan?
We will have to begin paying the loan.
So we're going to be paying it back no matter what, but we're targeting land sales to go to that, not specifically tied to the land has to be sold to pay back the state.
We will end up paying it back, but as land sales occur, then the land sale, the land fund will reimburse the general fund or the debt service fund for those costs.
So really, we should probably adjust that last statement then, because we're going to be paying it out of the general fund first and then reimbursing back to the general fund as land sales are made. The way it states now, and to Mr. Gray's point, it could be 3, 4, 5 years before we sell some of that land. I mean, we'd love to sell it all tomorrow, but we all know reality. But at the same time, once we go through with this, it's not just land sales. It's really going to come out of the general fund first and then be reimbursed for land sales back to the fund, right?
The land sale fund is cash poor. Everything you said is absolutely correct. We haven't sold property in the industrial park for a number of years, so it's not just a maybe. We've already had it. We believe that we're in a position now with the economy beginning to emerge that we'll be able to start selling. We had sold land in the industrial park for years, and I hate to say it, it was 2008 when we started, and that was about the time I started. I would assume it had to do with the economy turning south in 08 rather than us being unable to sell land. But the reality is we haven't sold land in the industrial park. And we've been holding off on doing the road out there for that very same reason. But now we feel the time is appropriate to begin investing in getting the road in there so that when we have prospective business clients, we can show them that we have a road and we have land that's available and ready to use. Up to this point, I was very reluctant to do that. And there were a lot of other reasons, but even if those other reasons didn't exist, I was reluctant to do that because we weren't selling them. Dave was ready to go with the road back in 08, but we knew that it just wasn't moving. After 6 years, we feel the time is appropriate to do that. But you are correct, Mr. Herman.
Well, and so to that point, I don't want to deny this. I'm in favor of what we're doing here. I just want to make sure that, our
eyes wide open?
Well, just that the Long Range Finance Committee knows where we're going with this. Our finance department knows where everything's being paid for, so that all of a sudden someone questions how come we're paying this loan back, not out of just land sales, but that's how it's worded. It says the state trust fund loan will now be repaid from proceeds of land sales in the Southwest Industrial Park. How will that look in our financial reports? Or will Moody's have an issue? Will somebody else have an issue? Because we're not actually, we're reimbursing our own pockets once we sell the land. So maybe
I think
you
Ms.
can
Larson
answer that or address that.
I didn't
so
see you in the
that-
back, so thank you for staying true.
Yeah, so that we're okay. Is where I'm coming, I guess, down the line, in an audit or something.
So these proceeds will be paid from the debt service fund. However, the debt will be recorded as TIF debt.
Okay. So do we need to adjust this? Oh, maybe Lynn needs to make a statement or something, or is this
Yeah, because
okay?
you're questioning really the fiscal impact.
Yeah, I guess I just want to
memorandum. I
make
don't
that
think the
statement isn't correct to how we're doing it now, and so do we need to adjust that to reflect?
I think the staff report probably could have been a little more descriptive, but if you take a look at the resolution, it's a 3-page resolution. There's a lot of detail in there. Thank you, City Attorney Lawrenson. Good thing we didn't pay her by the word on that one. The details that you're asking for are in the resolution itself. So the memo itself didn't give the detail that you were asking about. And I appreciate you asking, and it, something we got to make sure we get out there. But Ms. Lawrenson covered that in the resolution. I think Ms. Larson and she were making sure that all the details were correct, so that when the state trust fund says, "What'd you do with your money?" This is what we did with it. We'll be able to demonstrate that we used it and it was appropriately approved by the council.
I'll bring back other council members if they have any questions, concerns.
Just a quick question. These are costs that typically would be covered by the land sales otherwise, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Correct,
Yes, we just haven't had recent
Yeah.
experience. to
And I
talk
think,
about it.
I think citizens should know that, prior to 2008, as you indicated, land sales and industrial parks in Oshkosh were plenty, 3, 4, 5, 6 parcels, even more in some years, every single year. The North Industrial Park is filled up now. Really, the aviation industrial park isn't quite developed yet. This is the Southwest Industrial Park is really where any new expansion that's going to happen in Oshkosh is going to occur. There has been industrial expansion, by the way, in the last 3, 4, 5 years. It's mostly, though, been existing industry that have been building upon their existing facilities. J Manufacturing, Muse Metal Products have all just built on their facilities instead of building a separate facility. In fact, I think Jay took over a vacant space in the Southwestern Industrial Park. But there is growth occurring. There's going to be more coming, and I think, I'm confident that these land sales are going to be occurring here within the next 24 months.
Mm-hmm. Along with our focus on Go EDC, now we have gotten our economic house in order. People often talk about government operating as business. Basically, what you can look at in this instance is staff memo is kind of the executive report, the executive summary, and then the resolution is the detail of the report where all of the items are, as Mr. Roloff pointed out, are detailed with where the money is going, how it's going to be accounted for, and that the sales as land come in will be used to repay the debt of what we're transferring today. And echoing what Mr. Fitzgerald said, I do believe we will be seeing some economic impact in the city of Oshkosh in the next few years, that people will be buying land in our industrial parks.
Mr. Cummings.
Well, to reinforce what my colleagues have said, I think, though this may seem a minor point, we actually now have signs on that land saying for sale, correct?
The answer
Or we
would be
will?
yes.
This land is north of the railroad tracks, so we don't have the for sale signs north of the railroad tracks. It's when we develop them, then we'd put signs on those.
But we have not done that ever in the past by
But
now.
we've not done that in the past.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Mr. Gray, did you get your questions answered?
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank everyone, and I'll ask the clerk to take the roll call vote on 14-411.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, that takes us to Resolution 14-409, which in some ways is related to Resolution 14-415. I'll ask for a motion and a second on Resolution 14-409.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'll ask Mr. Roloff for some discussion about these two items, how they relate to each other, and then answer questions, and maybe talk a little bit about both of them together in a sense.
Sure. You may recall that back in January, we did a partial bid award for the Boatworks property, and that was, we actually broken it up into 3 parts. Part of the reason we did that was because we were made aware that there was a possibility of a DNR grant that would enable us to do a little more out there than originally, beyond just a river walk, and specifically developing that area into a park setting that had been envisioned in the plans that were there all along. Mr. Davis and Mr. Maurer worked on what that would be, and we asked council to break up the bid award into 3 parts. And as we've made progress towards completion, council then did another bid award, and the item number 5 on the agenda, 14409, is the resolution for the final bid award. And the reason we waited as long as we did was we wanted to know what it was going to match up to if we did end up getting the grant. So now that we know that we're getting the grant, we know how we want to direct the contractor to this bid award. So that's what we're doing with the item 5, 14-409. With respect to item 11, 14-415, we did, in fact, we've been notified that we are the recipient of a $350,000 grant from the Department of Natural Resources, and we are going to use that to build the, if you recall, there was a drawing that showed a shelter and a restroom, as well as a ramp that the on-ramp to the bridge that needed to have a little bit of a wind around that building to get up there, to get high enough to get over that bridge, because that bridge is pretty high to get on the island. So that is part of this final award, is that building.
As a change order.
As a change order. Now here's the glitch. When we put this together for you back in January, and I'll take responsibility, we didn't take a look at the fact that we were going to have to come back to you with a change order, because we were not allowed to bid it out with the original bid because the DNR won't let us have a grant for something we've already bid out. So we didn't bid it out. So the last portion that you have before you is the part for the shelter, but it's not the parking lot that we had showed you back in January. The reason the parking lot's not included is when we did the math, we were over the 15% threshold that state law requires for awarding a bid. If we have a bid
change
for
order bid.
a change order, if we have a $100 bid, we cannot add more than $15 to that change order. In this case, it's a $2 million bid award that the council has approved, so we can't go over roughly $300,000, plus or minus. So we separated the parking lot from that. We'll come back to you after we bid that, because we're going to have to bid that parking lot. Our matching funds for the grant are still eligible for that. We'll just come back and say we've got the matching funds, it's funded, and we've bid it out. But we have to bid that out. We just can't slip in that extra $200,000, roughly, approximately $200,000. We can't slip it in a change order because it takes it over the limit. And our city attorney and our finance director think we need to follow those rules, and I will take their judgment on that. And it's appropriate. They caught it. We're glad they caught it. We wish we'd caught it back in January, but we didn't have the finance director back then, so she wasn't watching those things, and now she's watching those things, and the city attorney, and she agreed, and they were right, and we got to come back at another time for the rest of it. Alan?
And the rest of it is the parking lot, the kayak launch, and the trail connection south along Michigan to the neighborhood to the south. And those will be awarded later this year, probably in a few months, going through the bidding process.
Mr. Herman, do you want to follow up some questions there?
Nope, I'm good.
Anybody else? Okay, so we're making progress on the south side of the river now in terms of some significant progress in the next year on the river walk and on a rather complicated piece of the river walk. So
yes, it is a complicated piece, and just to remind you, we also received grant money for the section east of Oregon from the Oregon Street Bridge over to approximately the dockside, so that'll be a project that we'll be working on next year.
Okay, great.
Alan, all told, and I'm putting you on the spot with this one, but with the Riverwalk and those associated projects, about how much have we been been awarded in grants over the last 5 years? It's got to be over $4 million now.
It's about $4 million. I'd say 3.5 to 4. Actually, this last one for the parks probably took it over $4 million. I haven't done the math, but
I got to say, our staff has been tireless in pursuing these grants. When other communities were shying away from doing this, we were bold, and the projects have been a lot more than $4 million, don't get me wrong, but there is no city in the state that has been as aggressive as we have in pursuing these grants, and everything that got done with the Riverwalk is due to that aggressive nature, and thank Alan and all of his staff, and it's Public Works helping them. And Friday morning, when we were still putting this whole thing together, trying to figure out the 15%, I only tease Lynn and Trina a little bit, but they helped us figure this out so we could come to you together with a package tonight that we probably wouldn't have been able to do. And Alan was, would you say, just a little, he was a little bummed out because we thought we were going to have to turn down this grant, but we figured out a way how to package what to bring you. That 249 came from a lot of figuring out what we were going to do, and Ms. Larson and Ms. Lawrenson and Alan and Mr. Godey with Mr. Patek's staff, I was dragging everybody in the office until we had this figured out. That's why we've gotten to $4 million in grants over these last few years.
and turning down grant money makes it very difficult to get future grant money, so it's really important to grant writers to keep that
Grant
pipeline
readers.
filled.
Yeah. Plus, he would have cried if we turned it down.
Mr. Cummings.
Ellen, are most of those grants from the DNR?
Yes, one way or the other. We've gotten a little money from Department of Commerce and WEDC, but that was usually for the remediation pieces of a Riverwalk project. The actual hard construction is DNR or federal money that's gone through DNR to get to us.
Thank you.
One further question, Mayor.
Yeah, sure.
On this project, I know we tore down buildings, we tore down boat locations where people used to store their boats. What is being done with all that property besides the river walk? I mean,
The Boatworks property, I expect we will be able to offer that for sale or proposals from developers once we're finished with the project, because I think people want to understand what the sight lines are going to be and what our impact on our footprint is going to be on that property. And I think we'll also want to see what the long-term plan for Michigan and the sanitation garage is beside Boatworks property.
Okay, so some of this money is kind of to clean that up too, or not? That's separate?
Yes, we got grant money to actually take out the piers and the buildings already. That was part of the second bid you awarded this spring. So that was already partially funded by DNR to clean up that site.
And the only reason I bring it up is I think we need to continue to put those projects kind of towards together. This is not really part of this, but it just breaks my heart that we just completed Irving Avenue and now we're tearing it back up again to do Central and Parkway and all that other stuff. Where weren't we thinking 2 or 3 years down that we were going to be doing that? Anyway, so I don't want to be going into this project and all of a sudden, geez, we didn't develop, when the land was under construction and the Riverwalk was being done, that we didn't think about cleaning that up so it's ready to go. So, thank you.
Any other comments, questions on Resolution 14-409?
Mayor, just a quick comment that it is a very exciting project, and anybody, even if you haven't been down there to see it yet, by the fishing pier on the south side, I think for those of us that live in the south side, it's exciting. I go down there once a week. I was there this morning. The progress is phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, you'll be impressed, undoubtedly. Stop on down and take a look and see what these city dollars and grant dollars are doing, because it's going to be exciting in less than a year here, right?
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no other comments, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on 14-409.
Allison Osby.
Aye.
Pansky. Aye. Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Peck.
Aye.
Herman.
Aye.
Tower.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, it takes us to new resolutions. Resolution 14-415, approved change order number 1, Lunda Construction for Boatworks Riverwalk West Section Park improvements. If anybody would like to come forward to speak to that, microphone is open. See no one come forward to to talk to about it? I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and a second on Resolution 14-415.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. We've just been talking about it somewhat, but somebody still has leftover questions. Yeah, Mr. Cummings.
I have one question. Reading the backup, it looks like we're going to use one of the portals from the old railroad bridge rather than both of them.
Yes, the plan was always to use one of them for the Riverwalk down by the old railroad bridge. So we're trying to
Pioneer
incorporate-
Drive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, ask clerk take the roll call vote on Resolution 14-415.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Tower?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, takes us to pending ordinances. We'll go through these one at a time. Ordinance 14-416, approved request to attach to the city from town of Algoma, Dishaw, Wallace voluntary attachment, part of 2295 and 2291 Patriot Lane. Anybody like to come forward to speak to that? See no one coming forward, I'll bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. That's ordinance 14-416. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on ordinance 14-416.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Tower?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 14-417, approval of parking regulation changes on east side of Nebraska Street between West 6th Avenue and West 7th Avenue. Anybody like to come forward? Seeing no one coming forward, bring it back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take the roll call vote on ordinance 14-417.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Pansky?
Aye.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Tower?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, takes us to council discussion, direction of the city manager, and future agenda items. The first one is a Go EDC update. Mr. Roloff.
Thank you. This is just continuing a request by council members that when there's some information to report, I'd be happy to do it. Go EDC has initiated the recruitment for its CEO. That recruitment will continue through the month of September, and then they'll go through the process of reviewing candidates. It's going to be a nationwide search. The idea is to have the person on board by January 1. Along with that, the question will beg itself, the funding for it. The Resource Development Committee is in the process of putting together a plan to approach the business community for investments in that. That'll supplement any funding that we have that we'll plan for Go EDC. And then finally, they've also issued a request for proposals for a marketing plan. They have a marketing committee that consists of various members of the board as well as people out in the advertisement community in Oshkosh that are helping us with that to review proposals. And that'll also be, the idea will be for that to get implemented around the first of the year as well. That's just.
I have one question.
Sure, go.
How does that tie into the Chamber's Opportunity Oshkosh? I mean, are they coordinating that together? Are they going to expand that since it already has quite a bit of traction?
I think that's going to be left up to the marketing committee to identify how you integrate all those together. I think it's appropriate to do that so we have a unified way to do it. The details of answering your question, we're really not there yet. How it can be used.
I'm
sorry, Mr. Fitzgerald's on that.
No, we've got at this point a 4-person committee, a 5-person committee. I was just asked to be on it. We've had one meeting so far. It was last week, and at this point, we're at the base level of determining kind of an agenda of work for ourselves. So really, this first initiative is to just identify a firm that can handle the website development and the logo development. And the thought is that we need to get some things up on the internet immediately to be able to showcase properties that are available. And but we don't want to do too much so that when the new executive director comes on board, they have some freedom to get things going. I'm guessing that and this is probably more a strategic direction from the board of Go EDC, but I believe that as time goes on, they're looking to integrate and collaborate with existing endeavors in the community, such as Opportunity Oshkosh as many partnerships as they can make that make sense.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, future agenda items. First one here is a budget workshop, September 24th at 5 p.m. It's been on the agenda there, I think, for a while, so unless there's a desire
Focus
to
on
change-
CIPs.
Unless there's a desire, that is the CIP, and we talked a little bit about content on that previously. The next one is scheduling budget workshops for October and November. Proposed dates, October 22 and 29, November 4. Those were originally thrown out. I don't know that we ever really fully discussed them, but they were put on kind of a maybe type thing, so I guess we need to look at those.
I did leave a message for Mr. Roloff. The 22nd, I am scheduled to be out of town, and that is a non-negotiable date for me, unfortunately.
I
You're
also
not
will be
alone.
out of town.
You'll be out of town.
I will be out of town also on the 22nd. Everybody's
There's a consensus on the
everybody's going to my
22nd.
birthday party.
Where's the 22nd is my birthday.
That's my birthday.
It is, the 22nd.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Can we do that?
Have to put a big star in there.
Just for a
Put
point
an
of
old
reference.
star on. Put a lot of stars.
I guess we got to keep an eye on that. Our goal is to get the budget to council sometime between the Friday the 10th and Tuesday the 14th at the council meeting, no later than when you walk in the door for the council meeting on the 14th, hopefully the weekend before. Having something the week of the 13th would probably not be good because you'd want to have time to read it and absorb it, and the whole idea is to give you that time.
Also,
So-
that week is the League of Municipalities, in which a number of people will be gone.
Correct.
Some combination of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
So for all those reasons, the week of the 13th just wouldn't work. So the week of the 20th, I'm not sure what other conflicts there may be.
Which month are we talking about?
October.
October 20th is a Monday, 21st, on and on.
What's Monday like for people who can't make it on Wednesday?
The
Monday
13th?
bad too, yet?
No, the 20th.
I could do the 20th. I don't know.
I'm
Who else?
open.
What about,
I'll be in Nashville.
oh, still in Nashville.
I work, but I can work around that.
What's your situation?
The
on
20th, I could probably do the 20th.
I can be there as well.
So you have a problem. Anybody else have a problem other than Mr. Cummings?
It's a conference with Evergreen Manor, so.
Okay. We're going to have some, we may end up missing somebody on some of these dates. We got 3 dates because we got kind of a tight timeline. Could we go with the 20th? Would you? Unless we can come up with some other dates, we'd almost have to move all the others back or go multiple dates on what's going on in the week of the 29th.
Unless we did a 29th and a 30th. I
That's
can do
because
the,
I'm looking. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, no, I mean, I can do the 20th, or I don't know if you guys would want to do back-to-back.
Well, it'd be back to back to back because you have a council meeting on the 28th. Just, we're always here, but
Be back to back.
One
to back.
big happy family.
A lot of togetherness.
A lot of
I can do 29 and 30.
What do other people think? Kind of our choices are having
That's
everybody
fine.
going for a three-nighter that week? Is that feasible from the standpoint of you and staff members?
yeah, actually, there's pros and cons to all of them. We can do it. I mean, it's, I think there might be some conflicts with some folks. Trina, do you remember if the conflict, I knew.
She's back there.
She's back there.
She's hiding. I can't remember what, there was, department heads, were they not available on the 22nd or the 29th? 29th.
Well, we could make that work, that we just flip them to
Flip 'em around.
whatever night.
Put them on the 30th, yeah. We'll have to see if they're available on the 30th.
Okay.
If you want on the 20th and 30th, that's what we'll shoot for.
Looks like we'll have a big week that week, so we'll do 28, 29, and 30, okay? As people will recall from the past.
And what time are we starting those?
We generally start at 5 o'clock.
Typically start at 5. The one on the
And
4th.
typically, I'll bring pizza the first 2 nights, starting at 4:30. So if you come at 4:30, you get pizza on the 29th and 30th, not on the 28th. So you can come, it just won't have anything to eat.
And then Tuesday, the 4th, is typically the last workshop that we talk about the CIP.
Is that an issue with the election day?
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. 'Cause I
Not
will
for the
be-
clerk. The clerk typically doesn't come to that meeting anyway.
I will be working the 11th.
We had it tentatively scheduled for a 5th, I thought.
And I'm trying to remember if there was a reason we put down the 4th. I don't have any conflicts from my standpoint. So we could do the 5th if
Can we
that's-
tentatively move it to the 5th, and if you find that there's another
Conflict.
reason, we may have to do one of a couple of things there. So let's tentatively move that now to the 5th, or we'll say it's moved to the 5th, but if you check and find out there's a reason why we can't, or
And that would be at 5
what's all the sign language going on? I see a lot of sign
Time.
language.
She was
over there.
asking me about time. 5 o'clock.
Okay, 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock on the 5th.
5 o'clock on the 5th, so we move from the 4th to the 5th, and then we have the 29th and 30th rather than 22nd and 29th.
Very good.
Okay, the next thing is the sex offender workshop is September 30th at 5 o'clock.
Yep.
I know you have some questions about that.
I want to give you a rough idea of what we were thinking about from an agenda standpoint. From the last workshop we had on this topic, there was a lot of discussion of what the state does, but there wasn't a discussion about what we can do or want to do at the local level, which I really think was the crux of what council wanted. What I've asked staff to do, and what I'd like to do, is give you a range, a spectrum, as it were, of options that municipalities typically use. What we're finding is that it's all over the board, so we want to give you a rough idea and just perhaps 4 options, not necessarily pick one, but just sort of explain the range from very restrictive to not very restrictive. Right now, we are on the non-very restrictive side. I think that's pretty obvious. No argument from anybody on that. And then there's very restrictive. And then there's a lot of in-betweens. Ms. Lawrenson's been doing some research, Chief Grohl's been doing some research, and there are graduated steps you can take all the way to very restrictive. And I think it's appropriate to discuss with council the pros and cons of these relative types of options. So my goal was to present roughly 4 options, not hard and fast options. You got to choose one of 4, but to give you the whole continuum of what regulations are out there, what experiences have been by the cities that have done them. There's pros and cons to every one. There's no one perfect policy. So really, what works for us? And I think that's what the council was looking for. What is going to work for Oshkosh given our unique needs? So that is generally what we were hoping to do. Is there anything else that council would like us to do, or any thoughts to that approach?
One question or thought. Are we in a uniquer position because of the prison?
I will put that down as a question. I don't know. I think it's a good question. I don't know if I necessarily know the answer, but we can put that out there.
Thank you.
Do you anticipate having that prior to the meeting? Because unfortunately, I will not be at the meeting. I have to be out of town.
Our goal is to give you as much information as we can prior to the meeting, so I will make sure you get a copy one way or the other.
And I concur. I'm one that kind of brought this meeting forward from the last meeting, and like you said, unfortunately, we'll be out of town. But I think that's the way we need to go. I think I would like to hear from more of our citizens, too. I've not gotten any specifics from anybody, their concerns, other than the concerns we've heard from the Middle Village folks and in their plans of things that they're doing. But, you know, I know there's a ton of options out there. Green Bay has an ordinance. Milwaukee's got an ordinance. There's other communities with ordinances. And I agree. I don't think one size fits all. And I'm sure the philosophy of I don't want it in my backyard would be a big one we'll hear from a lot of citizens. But at the same time, as the state made it very well known, they're not the ones that place these people. It's they have to find the housing. So they have to go where they can afford to go. They also have to live in areas that they need services. And that, you know, we all know where our human services is. We know where probation parole is in relative terms. We know where our busing is and those types of things. And so that all plays into where these folks live. And realistically, too, everybody's concerned about the high-level sex offender. But there's a lot of, if you go in the sex offender registry, there are a lot of levels 3, 4, that live right next door to people that probably don't even have a clue. And in a lot of ways, in my years of experience of law enforcement, the 3s and 4s are the ones you worry a little more about even than the 1s and 2s, because they're so restricted by their probation, their rules. Most of the level 1s are all electronically monitored. They're very controlled of what they can and can't do. So I think we have to think bigger picture, not just the smaller part of that, because they are citizens in our community. They have served their time. We want them to be a valuable part of our community also.
You reminded me of something. There was a discussion by the council about public input, which something as important as this. Public input is going to be very important. The idea of this would be a workshop. The council, we typically have not had public input at a workshop. I would think that after presented with a whole range of options, if we hone in on things that you want to see and then bring that back, and then that would be something that would really be subject to public scrutiny. I know somebody had mentioned maybe even having some public meetings on this, not just here at City Hall, but get out in the neighborhoods. I heard a bunch of different things, and the mayor talked about 3 or 4. It was mentioned by somebody.
I did. I brought up, and it didn't get a lot of traction, which is fine. But I do agree with you. I think we need to hear from our citizens that would be affected by an ordinance or a change. As you said, we're very open right now. They can pretty much live where they want. So if we're going to start making changes, I think we need to hear from what our citizens. You had asked with the budget stuff, what would you tolerate? Well, this is another one of those what can you tolerate type situation.
And then hear from the public and get some feedback there. And I don't want to hold you to anything until after the hearing or after the workshop. Then you say, okay, now I have a feeling where I know where I want to go with this thing. But I think you got to hear all this stuff first before you.
Oh yeah.
But public input, I heard and the mayor heard, was very evident that we wanted to take this on the road a little bit and get some input from a variety of folks.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about a workshop now. It would just be a workshop that would not have public input at that particular point in time. Are we okay with that? Because we sort of bounced things around the last time, and I think we need to kind of understand what's going to happen. So the workshop, then we decide where we go from there.
Well, Mr. Roloff indicated he'd get us the information as soon as possible. I just found out last week that I'll be out of town on business that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as well. The 29th, 30th, and 1st.
Okay.
Traveling back on 2nd. So.
Yeah, I recall back, to me, one of our most successful workshops was the one where we did special assessments, and we really gave you a range of options, and we want to do that. And we're able to look at that workshop now, years later, and still find its relevance. So I'm hoping that we'll be equally successful, that all you have to do is look at the tape, look at the staff information that we're providing you, and you'll have a good basis.
We have an issue with something that's important, having 2 council members gone.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to be coming late to that meeting, but I've got a meeting that night for the Clarity Care Board I think it's public now that the executive director is leaving, so we have a special meeting, and I'm on a special committee to hire that individual that's going to be meeting that night. I have to make that a priority.
Yeah, I think we need to look at another date. It's a big item. A lot of people were interested in it. I don't think we can just have 4 council members there. When we want to have a lot of workshops and do these things, but it's really a trick finding dates. I don't know what other people think.
Well, I was the one that suggested the date of the 30th, but,
Mr. Herman
things
was
change.
also.
Things change as time moves forward.
And that was months ago, and things happen.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying.
We could move
I'm
the
a little
time
worried
back.
only having 4 council members at something that people's view is extremely important. And
I leave it up to, that's certainly council's call on that. We could move the meeting back an hour if that would help Mr. Fitzgerald, but that's not going to help Mr. Peck or Mr. Herman. It is an important issue. And
could we move it to the 7th of October?
Yeah, that works for me.
we probably need to start it a little later because Plan Commission goes on at 4 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Could we do it at 6 on at 6 o'clock on the 7th.
You guys can, I may not be able to be there. I may be out part of that week.
Others? What do people think? I think we can go down one. We're going to have trouble finding a night, but I'm really reluctant to be down 3.
I'm good for the 7th.
All right.
I can do
I'm
the 7th.
available then.
Huh?
Appreciate that.
So, okay, so we're talking about moving off the 30th to the 7th, and we're talking about moving off 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Are we okay there? I think we got another decision there.
Right.
Now, the one thing is hopefully the folks that you've asked to become involved, hopefully the chief can make that, but that'll work for him. Sorry about that, but it's an important item, but people have a lot of things that are going on in their lives.
There was also at Oshkosh for Education on the 30th, so now I can make it. So there's always
Well,
something.
I think everybody was asked to make it on the 30th, too, so that's probably not all bad. Okay, so we're moving to the 7th then.
Very good.
We got a decision there. And again, we're going to 6 o'clock rather than 5 o'clock. Okay, update on employee clinic.
I just wanted to just give the council a little briefing on what we're doing. The school district is really very motivated to work on an employee clinic, regardless of whatever decision the city may make. County board discussed it at a meeting last week, had a lot of questions. We are in the process of meeting with all our employees, as many of our employees as possible. We're getting out to the work sites and going over frequently asked questions, issues on cost, issues on services, because one of the things we've learned from Intera, which is the group is focused on, Intera is a nationally recognized company that provides these types of clinics on a contract basis. And one of the things they said was employee usage is key. They told us that 28%, if we can get 28% of the services that the clinic would provide going through the clinic versus elsewhere, we'll break even. So we only need to get to 28%. But I don't want to take that 28% for granted, and that's why we're spending time with our employees to educate them, to see if this is something that they would give a chance. Because if they were to come back and say, well, you can do whatever you want, city, council, manager, and they're not going to use it, doesn't make much sense. So we're going through that process to explain those types of things. So far, the response has been good. I'm going to have a full report for the council on the 23rd. And at that point, then, we'll be prepared to make a recommendation on where we're going to go. If we get a positive feedback from the employees, then we're going to work towards negotiating an agreement with the school district and the county, as well as jointly with Intera. That is what we would come back to. We've been discussing various elements of what this agreement would entail, but we want to make sure that our employees, that's our number one priority right now, is make sure they're on board. One of the things that or two things we've discussed with employees. Number one is what the cost would be. And based on Intera's experience, you need to create a significant differential between a regular office visit somewhere else and this clinic. And the differential is generally about $25. We currently have a $20 copay, so what we're looking at is making it a $25 copay, but if you go to the clinic, the cost is $0. Now, that's a rate to get people directed towards there. We don't know what will happen in the future, but we would get that differential there. Secondly, one of the biggest demands that we've seen from employees and what Intera has experienced is pharmacy. And pharmacy is a huge component of our healthcare costs. And we can make certain pharmaceuticals available at the clinic, again at no cost, and we could save 40%. So if the concern is, well, why would it be free? Why would it be no cost? We will save 40%. And when we're paying 95% of the bill or more, when we save 40%, it's us, the city, the employer, that's going to save that money. So that's a very attractive thing. We're, depending on what my report is on the 23rd, I just wanted to brief you, but that's the plan. Give you a brief report on the 23rd and a timeline of where we think we're going to go. We will not make a January 1 deadline, so we've kind of forgotten about trying to create that as an arbitrary deadline because we need to give 90 days notice to Intera to get moving on that. The school district may take the lead and already give Intera a heads up to do it, but the school district, I think, wants to wait and see what we want to do. And if we're on board, then we'll jointly give Intera a 90-day green light to get started and have it ready to go in 90 days.
Mr. Roloff, when you talk about the participation for employees and dependents on our insurance policy, correct? It's not just employees?
It's employees on our insurance policy and their dependents. Thank you.
I just wanted to verify that that was indeed the case. Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Cummings, you had something you wanted to say in this section.
Yes. Could we put on the next agenda under this council discussion, an update on the riverfront visioning process?
Yes, we can do that.
And timelines and so forth. There's a lot of people participated. I've had questions asked, well, what's next? So if we can do that next council meeting, I appreciate it.
Very good.
Okay, it takes its council member announcements and statements. Again, Mr. Cummings, welcome to Oshkosh Signs.
Thank you, Mayor. Andy wants me to go over there, so project what I'm going to show. So do that. Do I have to get permission to leave? Or?
Go right ahead. I don't know that you do, but you have.
All in favor?
This is a bit of brief history. This is a program that began in January of 2011 and was shelved because the DOT.
Would you? Yeah. This might be easier for you to use.
A bit of background. This is a program that began in 2011, was shelved because the DOT said we could not do it. And this was a program that was begun with the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation as far as welcoming signs into the city. If you've noticed when you come into Oshkosh, other than the typical highway sign saying Oshkosh, there's nothing that says welcome. Other communities do it. If you go to Door County, there's a big sign that says welcome to Door County. Green Lake does it. So it had been shelved since January of 2011. I met with Diane Abraham early spring. We talked about it, how to revive it. We did. I called Representative Hintz and said, here's our situation. Can you get someone here from the DOT to tell us how we can do it? He got a hold of a Mike Freewood for the DOT. We brought in the people from Jones Sign out of De Pere. These concepts were from January of 2011, and the DOT said, here's how you can do it. So it was a great collaborative effort. It went very quickly. Our initial meetings, we had Wendy Hillsberg from the CVB, we had Aaron Shearing from the Payne, we had Todd Cummings from the Bid Board, Bill Sturm from Parks Department. I was there, obviously. The people from Jones Sign, and we hope to have these up by the end of October. The major sign will be about 15 feet high, and it will be as you're coming off of Highway 41 onto South Park. It'll be in the area near Poberezny Drive. There'll be 4 other locations. One of which will be on the Murdoch-Jackson roundabout. Another will be on the Algoma Highway 45 roundabout. 4th will be coming in on 21 on the 21 Oshkosh Avenue roundabout. There'll be one at 9th and Kohler on those roundabouts. So this is a project that we've had a lot of people enthused about it, but it was a great collaborative effort, and really the Oshkosh Area Foundation was the spark plug behind it. They are financing the whole project. This sign, which is a major one for the South Park exit, is about 15 feet tall. The others will be approximately 10 feet tall. So as you now enter Oshkosh, you will have a nice, warm welcome. If you notice at the bottom, it says established 1853, and that is the year that the city was founded, and as part of our overall strategy to begin leveraging the history of this community. And to put it in pretty simple terms, we want to start marketing our history for profit. Like every other community that really has a strong historical background, they're using that history to generate tourism and bring in dollars. So when you enter Oshkosh, you will now be greeted warmly. Yay.
This is really excellent. I know it's been a collaborative effort, but really the individual driver who's pushed this thing and held with it the whole time is Councilmember Cummings. So I do want to thank him, particularly for spearheading this drive, and as well as thank all the other partners. I think this is something important that's been on the council agenda for some time to get done. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Super. Took a lot of time, took a lot of energy. So
Just one question, Steve. Is the foundation going to have their logo on there or something like that, or the partners?
No
or-
logos.
No logos?
It's just welcome Oshkosh, established 1853. Very clean, very simple.
that's fantastic. Okay, citizen statements to the council. Again, an opportunity if anybody would like to make any statements to the council about what's great going on in Oshkosh or some concerns. I see no one coming forward, so I won't go through all the criteria. So I'll come back to a motion to go into closed session. So I'm going to ask the deputy mayor, council member Allison Osby.
Thank you. Motion to go into closed session. The council may convene into closed session to discuss bargaining options, strategy, and parameters related to the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements with Local 316 IAFF Oshkosh Fire Department, Oshkosh Fire Department Chief Officers, Oshkosh Professional Police Officers Association, Oshkosh Police Supervisors Association, and AFSCME 796 Transit pursuant to Section 19.851E of the Wisconsin State Statutes where competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I need a roll call on this.
Roll call.
I need a roll call on this one. So I'm going to ask the clerk to take that roll call. Thank you.
Allison Osby?
Here. Aye.
Rewind.
Hansky?
Aye.
Reboot.
Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Peck?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Tower?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. We have the closed session, so.